The COVID-19 pandemic has, of course, accelerated the need for technology in our everyday lives, with artificial intelligence having a strong impact on the global economy as well as our economies here in Africa. A report conducted by PwC last year shows that AI could grow by as much as $15 trillion by the year 2030. That was last year. In Africa, we need, of course, to look at how we can also be part of that growth. Where are we going to get it? Joining me to discuss Africa's potential in the AI space is Muhtari Adanan. He's a partner at Xecced Ventures and Xecced LLP. Muhtari, thank you for joining us. Thank you for accepting my invitation after we met on the big World Wide Web, which can be good depending on how you use it, or if you use it like President Trump, it can burn you. Let's talk about this AI world that you are talking about. I want to know how big a space Africa's contribution could potentially be, and then we'll move into the second part of the question, which seeks to understand what we need to do in order for us to be full and able participants.
Yes, Godfrey, thanks for having me. As you pointed out, the AI is forecast to add between $13 to $16 trillion to the global economy, according to likes of McKinsey and PricewaterhouseCoopers, across industries from biotech to finance. Africa could potentially add up to $500 billion this decade to its economy if by extending AI to, say, financial services, to the unbanked, which could add about $4 trillion globally to the unbanked, which is about $2 trillion to Africa, to improving productivity in Africa's mining sector. And Africa has intrinsic advantages, not least is it because of its large population of 1.3 billion people, which translates to more data to train AI algorithms across in Africa. Yeah. And conversely, if Africa is behind the curve in AI, yeah. African firms will be outcompeted. So, for example, Oxford University reckons that 85% of jobs in Ethiopia are at risk from automation elsewhere, sure. Due to automation. So it's a double-edged sword. It's an opportunity and a challenge to Africa at the same time.
Right. So let's talk broadly, and we're talking broadly here about what needs to be done for us to be able to ensure that we don't see the other side of the blade. We only see the one that we want, which of course is where the advantage lies. From your perspective, is that work that needs to be done at the AU level, or is that at the national government level, or do we simply need to create the ecosystem and environment for our companies to be able to be active and succeed in this space?
Well, currently, only one country has an AI industrial policy. So we need an industrial policy similar to China's. Across Africa, I'd prefer, because the competitive advantage comes from having the larger the population. In AI, you can have two advantages. You can have AI supremacy in two ways. One is through the design of an algorithm, like in the US. So they're number one in AI because their algorithms are superior. Yeah. Then number two is China, which has a lot more data. So it has a lot more people online. It has 700 million people compared to US's 200 million people online. Yeah. So for Africa to compete at the moment, we're probably better off looking at our population, harnessing our internet population, which is 500 million people, more than the US. If we can harness that, and that means harmonized regulation across Africa, so we can have seamless data moving around the countries, and also an industrial policy that's harmonized as well, similar to China's. It's done before. China has become successful in it. It's now number two from nowhere a few years ago, and in some areas it's superior, like facial recognition. It's the world leader.
Absolutely. And I saw earlier on, was it actually today or yesterday, that someone was saying that this drive against Jack Ma's company is actually part of a bigger cleanup that's intended to establish China as a leading voice in technology going forward. But I wanted to ask you, from an Africa perspective, do you see us being able to match the progress that we're seeing in China? And then secondly, how do we get the private sector to be a full participant in the industrial policy formulation that you were talking about?
Yes, certainly. So that's a very good question, Godfrey. So we, Xecced Ventures, Africa's first AI fund, it's an impact investor. We're fundamentally a data AI firm aiming to press forward Africa's AI economy. In much the same way Tencent and Alibaba are in China. So they are, it's a public-private partnership between the government, being led by Tencent and Alibaba in China, or Google in America. So principally by driving up the AI investment rate. So currently the per capita investment rate in Africa is just 1 cent per capita. In China and the US, it's $155.
Sure.
So and the way one of the ways we're doing it is by making our neural network AI platform an open platform for investing.
Sure.
So for co-investing. So this basically entices co-investors to invest in the industry because the platform gives them unprecedented risk management capabilities, bias elimination in investing, and cost savings up to 40%. So we're driving the investment rate from an abysmal 1 cent per capita to much closer to the $155 that you have in the US and China. So that's what we need to do, and that's our focus. Obviously, and also this has to be done in tandem with the government. So in most cases, AI is led by the private sector and working with the government. So in China, it's Tencent and Alibaba, as you mentioned earlier. In the US, is Google, etc. So yes, so we have to work with them to make our platform for drawing co-investing, investing alongside us, easier for investors to invest. So the key is getting the investment rate up. That is the key, the key issue now.
Yeah, absolutely.